Okay, let's make this big and I'll look at you while hello, happy Sunday. I hope you all are doing well and I hope you're enjoying everything that you've looked at thus far. Today's video is going to be a little long because I want to talk through some of the whys, wherefores, what, how, why of things thus far, and show you some stuff and all that good, happy stuff. If you don't know, uh, you can go on YouTube videos in the lower right hand corner. There's a little gear icon, and when you click that, it allows you to speed up the video. So if you're like I am, when I'm watching videos by instructors or webinars and stuff like that, I usually get distracted and then I start paying too much attention to my email or whatever other thing I'm working on. And so I found when I'm watching instructional videos now, I usually play them fast. So it forces me to focus. And if it goes too fast, I can either slow it down or hit pause, rewind, and go rewatch it. But just sharing a tip with you that I do. So I'm now going to shrink the video and look at the screen I'm recording. Okay. Um, so again, thanks for all the work you've done thus far. Of course, your lovely replies are nice and thoughtful, and it's so nice to see it. And just kind of remind yourself that you are the nerd herd, and you're not likely to see as much of this rich and robust type of feedback in your classes. Unless you prompt it in various ways, and that, I mean, hopefully you'll see some of those tips and tricks as we go. So, um, wanting to start with one thing I wonder if you noticed. I did not specifically ask you to introduce yourself. And on the one hand, the first time I taught this version of this course, and I'm going to go back in a second and explain this version of this course, um, I accidentally forgot. Part of it is I was getting it up really quickly and just kind of forgot. But now I kind of leave it because the first time I did it, I had some transgender folks who took this first activity and specifically built in the introduction so they could share their preferred pronouns, which I appreciated, but I also loved the moment of it showing how important it is to leave the space for students to be able to introduce themselves and do things like preferred pronouns. Um, because especially once you have people replying and talking back to one another, they'll start using pronouns. And obviously, if you have a preferred one and people do not use it or they make assumptions, you'd be frustrated too. And the reason I did that is if hopefully you're starting to be able to see some of the difference. Most of this boot camp is actually designed by the Office of Digital Learning. And that's where the stuff like all the modules, you can get the aesthetic difference. So this is digital learning. This is Shelley. You can tell there's an aesthetic difference. And digital learning specifically asked us to pilot having some of this how to teach online content. But what you're seeing is they had all this content and really no interaction with it. And so part of what I've been doing and testing and working with you all is going like, okay, it's one thing to have the content, but we know learning doesn't happen unless people do stuff with it. And so that's what we're doing, is we're doing stuff with it. Like I had already said in the announcement, y'all had really good insightful stuff about that getting started stuff, and I just want to keep in mind that no, the students are not going to read it all and that's normal, and you know, we're guilty. We are our worst students, so we're guilty as well. The syllabus quiz, I just left it in there because that is something set up by ODL, and it gives you an idea of something you can do if you wish. The pre-designed courses do not have syllabus quizzes right now, but you could easily build one in. Okay, so where we're at in terms of it, today is Sunday the 20th, is you finished this first activity, the posting and replies, and you should have posted the first half of this activity, and that this probably took some time. Because you had to do some reading and then you had to go look at one or more of the pre-designed courses, and then you did this content. I confess I'm not going to go in, and I'm not going to go, definitely not do the grading part, and that's the less important part. I'm not going to go in and kind of collect all of the questions and see how some of you already started to respond to them and then me respond to them until after we have that full thing. So I don't want you to think I'm ignoring you. I'm not ignoring you. I'm just waiting until after the 22nd. But what I do want to show you is I want to show you how in the PDCs everything is connected. So you'll notice that the content, like the layout of the course, lives in content, and it scrolls down. But all of these activities, discussions, syllabus quizzes, and if you have assignments, right now, at least in this iteration of the boot camp, we don't have assignments. If you go to discussion, I'm going to go to discussion, and I'm going to go to quizzes. They live there too. And here we actually have this question, concerns, comment that just kind of hangs out in discussion. So it lives here too, and lives in quizzes. And so part of that is because these areas up here are functionality of the application that is desired to learn, that is the LMS, right? But content is kind of where the delivery of it and where you can pull it all together. But it doesn't mean you still have to kind of, if you allow people to see the discussions area, which I think is good in case someone gets lost or something, you still want to come in and make sure these are organized, because you can reorganize them. Let's see, more actions, reorder. You want to make sure they still make sense with how you have things set up under content. But what a lot of people aren't prepared for, so let's go back to discussions, is how things are connected to the gradebook. You may, if you're teaching face-to-face, you may not have this need to set this up, whereas online we want to do that. So when you're editing the actual activity, that's where things like assessment come into play. And what you're seeing here is, notice that it's connected to a grade item. So that means this activity is connected to a column in the grade book. And then it also, notice it has a rubric attached to it. So what does that mean for you as the instructor and potentially as the student? So hit save. Okay, grade item. Okay, so I'm going to save and close, get out of here so I can show you what it's looking like. Come on, get out of here. There we go. Okay, so normally when you go into grades, or at least when I go into grades, I see the list first. If I go up here to the left, enter grades, I see the list of everybody. Again, this is a workshop, so I don't feel like I'm breaking FERPA, because part of this, I want you to see all of this, see behind the, the green screen, the Wizard of Oz. So what we have here, what you see is that it shows that something was submitted. The orange usually means you have not looked at it yet. Now, what you can do is you can either pop it up directly from here, but I'm going to show you, because usually you want to grade everything at once, or at least I do. I mean, I guess it really doesn't matter. Grade all. I guess it's just the way I'm wired. So again, in here, you see there's graded. This is saying there's a rubric attached to it, but there's nothing was submitted. And then, Ryan, I saved yours. So thank you for being the voluntold person and showing what this is going to look like. So when you pop up that person, you see the rubric first. Sometimes, usually before I grade things, I go reread the assignment prompt to remind myself. But the rubrics, that the new style of the rubrics that we have set up with this version of the PDCs, we're trying to slowly move the PDCs towards labor-based contract grading. So what you'll see up here is we have absent, incomplete, and complete. The reason we do not have late is because all the data, including our own assessment data, shows that our online students are very busy people. And if we are going to penalize them for being late, even if it's late and then another 48 hours late, that's how ASAL sets up his grading contracts, labor-based grading contracts, it really disadvantages the online population, especially the traditional online population, meaning a little bit older student, a lot of them working full-time, and a lot of them also having care responsibilities, caregiving responsibilities to children, parents, siblings, family members. Uh, so their time is precious, and it's not, higher ed is still, there's this idea that the traditional higher ed student, that their full-time job is going to school. And even we know with our traditional campus students, a lot of them are working. Higher ed is still kind of designed around the myth that the student is full-time and going to school, and that we can kind of hold them accountable, or we can expect that this thing called school is one of their highest priorities, whereas with a lot of our online students, it's nowhere near their highest priority. They have work, they have home, they have children and parents, they have all these other things, and then this stuff gets crammed in on top of it all, or in between it all. So all that to say is, you're getting me on my soapbox that this is something that we're thinking about and playing with. I will say this, the level 4, I don't quite get what's going on there. I confess. I have to figure that out. But what it has at the bottom of the pop-up is everything that the person, whoever you're reading, is posted in that discussion board. And so here we've got the initial post, we can tell, and then the 2 replies. And so I can read through the initial post and go like, okay, yes, they did the initial response. They did so we have 2 sections of the initial response. And I don't know, there we go, it's clicking. And then there's 2 replies. You'll see in other ones, like usually if the replies are say something like provide a suggestion or ask 3 questions, we'll put that there as to more specific. But what this does is it allows for you to more quickly read and reply to the students, and to quickly tell them if there's something missing, if they don't get full credit for it, to tell them, hey, this is what's missing. And this is important because this type of activity right here that you all did is the equivalent of a face-to-face discussion. Realize in a face-to-face discussion, you don't listen to them all. You can't possibly keep track. Well, one, not everyone usually talks, right? But you can't possibly keep track of, did everyone cover everything and did everyone reply? You can't do that. And nor should you online all of a sudden have to sink in as much time and energy to read every single thing in something that in the face-to-face equivalent you wouldn't. Because part of what we know is that these discussions, these in-class activities, and then the stuff that we designed online to kind of start replicating them in the sense of doing this same type of teaching and learning opportunities, are are engagement activities. The idea is if the student does it, they're likely to have learned whatever it is we designed for them to learn. And therefore, you don't want to have to obsess over it, because in a face-to-face class, you literally couldn't for every single student. So I'm hoping that makes sense. A lot of new online instructors, or in the scholarship for the past 2 decades, talks about, oh my gosh, online takes so much time. Well, yes, because when you're new to online, it takes time to design all of this. And then when you're new to online, all of a sudden you're reading everything that every single student says, and people were trying to reply to it all. And it's like, wait, you don't do that in a face-to-face class. Stop. Think about what the activity is and what it's doing, and what you're trying to get from it. And so, a lot of the activities in the pre-designed courses are designed in such a way that, if the student does it, they're likely to have learned what we hope they learn and produced towards their major project, what we hope they produced. And I just lost, there we go. I don't know if you got my screen. Funny, my screen, the it's Sunday. I'm just going to leave it at that. You see that I clicked this and then I hit publish. It updates the gradebook. Ta-da, Ryan now has 8. And it say if he had missed a reply, he could have, I could have just left one unpopped, and I would have felt comfortable not leaving a note going like, you missed a reply, because the rubric is there to say, you missed a reply. So what's interesting, based on seeing this, is that you all should go in and figure out where and how you see the rubrics for your grading. Even though you got 100%, go see what the rubric looks like in case you had gotten less than 100%. So I'm hitting save and close. I'm trying to hit save and close. Oh, is it because, I think it's because my my screencast video is there. So I'll move on. The last thing I want to share with you all is what I'm doing right now in screencasting. I did send out at the beginning of the semester, and I do at the beginning of every semester, a kind of tips and tricks about screencasting, and that there's a variety of applications you can use. The institution does have a site license for Panopto, and Panopto does have a text to speech to text transcription. I confess, I just don't like Panopto. I think it's slow. I think it's clunky. I use Screencast-O-Matic. However, if you want the voice to text, you have to buy the Screencast-O-Matic full, buy it. Sorry, I'm feeling Sunday. And I slept a lot yesterday. I shouldn't be feeling Sunday. But the deluxe plan here, notice it's pretty cheap. So I know I have graduate students in here, and I know you are paid diddly. And normally, again, I told you the institution does have something that you pay for, but I am just going to throw out there, I confess Screencast-O-Matic in terms of its functionality and the ease with which I do this. So when I'm done with this recording, I'll hit stop. I'll hit edit. I will click on a button that it will listen to my words, and it'll give me the beginnings of a text. Then I will I will listen to the video. I'll watch and listen to the video again and clean up because I'm speaking fast, because I have a little nasally going on right now, just because it's not perfect, right? And so I'll clean up and catch a lot of the errors, probably not all of them. And then I will have the caption. I will say this, we have no excuse for not captioning our videos. The captioning tools have gotten too good, and they're too easy. Even occasionally for a long one, like this video's hitting close to, it's over 15 minutes, it's hitting close to 20. Sometimes on the long ones, I don't go back and test them or check them, because it would take another, probably 30, 40 minutes to do that. I may even, I'm not going to do that. So you can see what what things it says instead. So you can see that it's not perfect. It's worth going back. Another reason not to ramble on for 20 minutes. But all that to say is, when I do that, I just warn and I put, hey, I did not double check this, so apologies for captioning errors. And again, in the world according to me, that's better than nothing. But nothing, there's no excuse for nothing anymore. We can't. We used to kind of get away with the excuse of videos that we would reuse, we should caption, but ones we just made on a semesterly term, we don't have that excuse anymore. We pretty much have to caption every time because the technology's gotten too easy. Okay. Thank you for listening to my ramble. I hope everyone had a fabulous weekend. I know I'll see you on here next week. Maybe I'll see you on campus in the building. And thanks for all your hard work. Bye.